In the last decade, the Latino population in Escondido has exploded, but those changes have not been reflected at City Hall. From our Fronteras desk, Adrian Florido reports on a lawsuit several Latinos filed against the city. Their hope? To make it easier for Latinos to get elected to the city council.
This is Escondido's Mission Park neighborhood, the heart of this North County city's Latino community. Last year, data from the 2010 census confirmed what many in Escondido already suspected. Latinos have grown to be 49% of the city's population, making them its single largest ethnic group. But if you visit Escondido's gleaming city hall, you might not know it. In the city's 123-year history, only 2 Latinos have been elected to the city council, and only one actually acknowledged she was Latina.
One Latino elected in 123 years.
Demetrio Gomez is a Mexican-American, a construction worker, and a union organizer.
We are 49% of the town, and yet we're not being taken into consideration.
He lives on the outskirts of the city, and in December he joined several other Latinos to sue the city of Escondido. They hope to give Latinos a better shot at getting elected.
This is just one of the ways that we can get politically involved from the top down. A minority of the town is run in the city to their benefit.
Before understanding how the lawsuit could help Latinos, it helps to understand some of Escondido's recent history. This is City Councilwoman Marie Waldron talking about undocumented immigrants at a 2006 council meeting.
Our nation is under siege. Our own federal government has abandoned its constitutional duty, resulting in treason, and our local communities are directly paying the price. This is about illegal versus legal.
In the last decade, Escondido has cracked down on undocumented immigrants. Since 2004, the police department has put up sobriety and driver's license checkpoints and turned undocumented immigrants caught up in them over to immigration officials. In 2006, the city council temporarily passed a law that made it illegal for landlords to rent to undocumented immigrants.
And sadly, it is our very children who have to attend overcrowded schools and be threatened with exposure to the countless diseases that the late Dr. Madeline Cosman warned us about, including drug-resistant TB that costs over $2 million to treat per person. Who's going to pay that? Chagas disease, even leprosy.
Those policies and comments have left many Latinos, even citizens, feeling attacked by City Hall and outmatched by it. And that's where the recent lawsuit comes in. It asks a judge to toss out the current system for electing city council members. It's called an at-large system, and it requires all of the city's voters to choose from the same candidates. But if the lawsuit prevails, the city would be split into districts. Each one would have its own candidates, and voters could only vote in their district. Lori Schellenberger is an attorney at the American Civil Liberties Union. She's not involved in the Escondido case, but she has been watching it. She says that in at-large systems, it can be nearly impossible for minorities to elect candidates of their choice, because as voters, they're often outnumbered.
This is what we call racially polarized voting.
She says it happens all the time, but district elections change that.
When you map into districts, then you have a more concentrated group, and then they have a chance to have either a greater influence on an election if they don't meet the majority.
That was the idea behind the 2001 California Voting Rights Act. Like the Federal Voting Rights Act, it guarantees political representation to minority groups. But the California law is even more powerful. In fact, rather than endure expensive lawsuits from activists, many city councils and school boards have just agreed to switch to district elections. But here in Escondido, Mayor Sam Abed has vowed to fight.
This will be the worst option for every citizen in Escondido, including the Hispanics.
He says district elections will pit neighborhoods against each other.
I think, personally, this is very polarizing, very divisive in a smaller community like this, and I think this is going to isolate the Latino community geographically, politically, economically, and socially.
Abed says Latinos have just as much opportunity to elect candidates as anyone else. But Demetrio Gomez disagrees. He thinks the current system stacks the odds against Latinos and discourages them from voting.
But that's only because there's been really no one to root for. How are we going to get these people involved if they have no hope?
The lawsuit is not expected to be resolved before this year's elections, but Gomez thinks that if it succeeds, Latinos could compete for at least 2 seats come next election.